Hello everybody and welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things Warhammer and wargaming. This week I'm one of your hosts, Wargaming Luke, and as always it's just the three of us this week. I am joined by Ben, the happiest wargamer on YouTube, aka 90% Geek, and Simon, aka Hobby Waffle. How are we doing, guys?
I'm good, how are you?
Not bad,
very good,
not bad. Busy weekend, eventful weekend. My car's in accident and emergency, sadly, but other than that, yeah, I had another trip to Warhammer World on Saturday.
Cool.
I have the lucky thing of only living about an hour and a half away from Warhammer World, which is quite nice. Yeah, so if I can nip over there if I fancy doing it, and saw the new Skaven Norhole underneath the Norhole, that new diorama that they have. It's, oh my god, I think it's one of my new favourite dioramas there now. It's absolutely unreal. I think it's probably about me and half my height again. Pretty incredible. But especially as I'm doing the Skaven at the moment, that's inspired me quite a lot for seeing that in person. So
that's cool.
Always love it. But yeah, guys, if you're new to joining us, make sure you are following us on YouTube if you're watching us here. If you want to actually check us out, listen to us over on Spotify, we're over there as well. Make sure to follow us there. And of course, make sure you're throwing likes on the video for us and leaving us comments down below. We're doing some community questions, guys. We're answering your questions later on in the show this week. We were far too busy last week. It's a lot more settled this week for news topics, luckily. So we'll be able to get through some of your questions this week. But if you want to send those in, you can do that over on our Discord as well, which you can join following the link below. And you can also get involved in the chat with us over there as well, with all the news that drops during the week and all of our hobby discussion and things like that to do with like our projects ongoing and things. Do join us over there. But other than that, I think we can get straight into Ben. What is it time for?
And now the news.
I remembered it this week. The main thing, of course, from over the weekend, we had finally, we knew the name of it last week, but Kill Team Hivestorm, which I think is technically 4th edition for Kill Team now.
Yeah, I think it is.
New edition.
Yeah, and we've had the new miniatures for either side revealed. You were right, Si, all along. Yes, it was. It is the Vespids, and what they've actually called, there is a specific name, I'll scroll down here, the Tempestus Aquilons, what they called them.
Drop troopers.
Yeah.
Drop troopers indeed, yeah. I suppose we can look through kind of the minis on either side first and then kind of get into maybe some of the changes that they've already said are coming. And it looks like it's going to be not a complete ground upright of the rules.
No, it's more a refinement, isn't it?
Refinement from what I can tell of it, I think. Yeah, and they've not really rebranded the kind of theme of it either, have they really? It's kind of, they're kind of stuck with the same sort of art design and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, first...
honest,
go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I think the art design for Kill Team, the orange, is quite iconic, isn't it? When you see something on the screen there, if you saw that image come up on the screen there, if anyone's listening, it's one of the sounds with the orange border. If you had no explanation, but you saw that on the screen, you would know that is Kill Team just because of the way it's laid out and the orange border and what have you. So I do think it's quite identifiable in terms of that. So if it ain't broke, I guess, don't fix it.
Definitely, yeah, I totally agree. You always know what it is, don't you, if there's that orange. You could almost do Warcry could probably almost do with that kind of a theme, really.
Yeah, actually,
so they know. Yeah,
really Necromunda has kind of its own style.
Yeah,
and I mean, things like if you look at the old world, you get that kind of papery scroll effect often when they.
I thought the new edition, like the blue, like the
blue background.
Kind of blue. Yeah, that's on everything, isn't it? Like the bordering, the new box sets, everything. So that's how I kind of know it's old world as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens with Warcry and all that. But for now, the first of which we have here, the first of the two teams in the new set, Hivestorm, the Tempestus Aquilons. So these are like your Scions, right? But they have the Gravchutes. We did also have the awesome CGI trailer, which obviously came after the last episode, to be fair. What did we think of that, the new CGI trailer?
I thought it was brilliant. We said, didn't we, it would probably be the CGI trailer on the Friday and the reveals on the Saturday, and it was indeed that. The trailer, it was very similar to the Krieg versus the Commandos trailer in terms of the style and the way it was done. And to be honest, that's the kind of content that we want to be seeing on Warhammer Plus on a regular basis, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, props to whoever did that trailer. It was pretty impressive, to be fair.
And
I
of course,
confess, I liked seeing the Fire Warriors get vaporized. So the Fire Warrior kind of look around and go, what happened to Joe? One minute he's there, next, pew, he's just gone.
Yeah,
I feel like they
harsh,
did that for the. I felt like that was kind of on the nose for the majority of Warhammer players, where the Imperium are literally killing Tau, because a lot of people don't really like Tau.
In shooting as well, the Imperium are killing Tau in their own phase. But no, it was almost, I felt like the Fire Warrior was almost like doing a double take, like, what the?
Yeah,
that was quite cool.
Of course, like you guys pointed out last week, there's the big cannon. We thought it might be based around that and the actual theme and
with
the
the
narrative,
unimaginative name of Massive Ballistus, aka
yeah.
the Great Gun.
The great
Do
gun.
you know,
that was
my friend, Massive Ballistus?
Yeah, and so supposedly the whole setting on this planet is that all of these different kill teams for the different factions are trying to get intel and kind of gain some sort of control over this this big gun,
Massive Ballistus.
Massive Ballistus, yeah. And so that's why you've got all these different factions vying over it for control. But one of them is, as we've said, these new scions that have the grav shoots, the Aquilans. These are my favourite of the two kill teams. So we've got the Tempested Sergeant, I guess. Yeah.
So we've got the Tempesto. I mean, so I don't really like the Scions. When they came out, what is it? Probably about 8 years ago or something like that. But these are actually quite impressive. They sort of toned down the carapace armor a little bit. They've got straps on the shoulders now instead of it being like a full chest piece. Shame they're not a Legion drop troops, but these are meant to be like the elite of the elite of the elite, aren't they? So these are like the elite of even the Tempestos Scions. But I'm not sure about the colour scheme they've gone for with the black armor and the gold trim. It's almost a bit Black Legion, isn't it? But I'm sure once the community get their hands on these, they're going to look pretty awesome. And they've got rid of the helmet spike as well, which I quite like.
Yeah. There's less risk of impaling their own heads on things. Like someone lands.
The only thing I will say is, out of the two bare heads we've seen in the kit, like the Tempesto with the beret on there, and then the other one on the Precursor, I think both their face sculpts, it could just be the paint job on the studio models, but both the head sculpts look pretty poor to me. Other than that, it's a pretty cool kit. I love the fact that the hotshot last rifles have got power packs that they can use when they're dropping in, and then once they're on the ground, they can actually take the power pack out and plug in the cables for the hotshot blast. That's pretty cool. And they've got melter carbines, and was the other one a plasma carbine? Was it? It's awesome that they've been equipped with carbine weapons.
They'll have all sorts, won't they, to choose from? Because obviously, with the kill teams,
it's a pretty cool looking team.
You have
I love the grav shoots on the back.
So, yes, the grav shoots cool. She's a very angry lady, the Precursor there.
It's nice to see some representation, to see a little bit of kind of variety now that they're starting to move in. I mean, it does make me hopeful that if we get some new guard kits, that might be the way that they go.
Yep, definitely. You got the Grenadier, troopers, some nice poses as well, actually. And somebody was pointing out, actually, I can't remember where I saw it. Might have been on our Discord. A lot of people saying it's nice to see some more of like these grav shoot kind of jetpack models on the actual ground, as well,
instead of flying stands.
Yeah, which I think is cool. Because you can get a bit over the top with them sometimes, I think. But,
I think these seem like they're more suited to being used in an actual tabletop war game rather than looking like display pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very clearly, from the motion and the shape of them, they're very clearly drop troops. But at the same time, they look like there's something I could happily put on like a gantry or something, climbing around the interior of a kill team board without worrying about them falling off.
And then as part of the kill team, you have the servo sentry, which is kind of cool. So that's
clearly the best model.
Yeah,
clearly the best model.
Murderous version of Wall-E.
Yeah.
Wall-E.
Needs to be painted yellow with hazard stripes on it.
I wonder if that skull on the servo sentry is some of past guardsman that's faced the wrath of a commissar and has suddenly been turned into a servo sentry.
A past Aquilon, yeah. He's still part of the unit. It's
probably the highest honor that you
probably is, yeah. It's the same with Dreadnoughts and that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you've got multiple options on these as well, so it looks like you can do the flamer or the I don't know what other options on the
grenade launcher and hotshot volley gun.
Yeah, so that's probably, like you say, the coolest part. And in the CGI trailer, it's a very cool when that lands, actually. One of the coolest parts of the trailer. But,
I'm not entirely clear. Where are is it like a little retro thruster underneath it or something? Then is it what it's got?
I assume so.
So it's just like a really aggressive Mars lander.
Yeah, looks that way, yeah. Yeah. But, of course, the other thing that we had revealed was the Vespid Stingwings.
Hey.
Which we've got the first two we're looking at here for those who are listening on Spotify, the Sky Blast and the Strain Leader. So we've got some nice weapon variety here with them as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, so they've not just got neutron blasters anymore.
No.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with neutron blasters, but they've now got an access to a couple of different tower weapons. Like when I first saw the Sky Blast one, I thought it was carrying an airburst fragmentation launcher at first because it's the same style design. But apparently it's a neutron grenade launcher, which is pretty awesome. That has some sort of effect in game because you're going to be leaving markers down for neutron grenades. They were saying during the reveal show, if you use it tactically, you can basically irradiate parts of the kill team board, if you like, and block off access sometimes. So that's pretty cool. Then we've got the Strain Leader with the Communion Helm that is, according to Tau propaganda, not used for mind control, but the theory is that the Tau use it to communicate with the Vespid because the Vespid physiology is not suited for the spoken language, and they use it to issue orders, which is then passed on to the bugs. But I mean, there is an element there, isn't there, that it could be used for a little bit of mind control, and they're sort of tying into that
mind control in the Tau Empire. You shot me.
But I do like the way they're tying into it a little bit with the way the Vespid play, because they're saying if you don't direct them during the game and give them objectives and things to do, they will basically just turn into murder bugs and attack the nearest target. So if you don't give them any direction, they'll just go full on murder bug.
Instinctive behavior.
Yeah, I mean, which is pretty cool. I mean, you could, if the gameplay was dictating it, you could just let them off the chain and let them go murdering. But it's quite interesting how they've done it. They've got long sting with a rail rifle that's been upgraded with neutron technology as well. That's pretty cool. And then one of my favorites is the Swarm Guard carrying the flamer. Apparently, you can do flybys, so you can fly over targets and flame everything and create a corridor of flame underneath.
That's really cool.
And then the Shade Strain. Yeah, this is the one that I couldn't.
Farmer.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the rule was for this. So it's got like a miniature ghost keel helmet. And I don't know if they said it was more than 6 inches or 8 inches away. It cannot be targeted, basically. It's invisible. So that's pretty awesome. But one of the things that really impressed me as well about the Stingwings, they've said that if they move, their weapons are more powerful because the buzzing of the wings, if you like, is what powers the neutron crystal in the weapons. So if they move, the weapons are actually slightly more powerful, which is pretty awesome.
That's a cool bit of background lore as well.
Yeah.
That it is like kind of resonance harmonics.
Yeah, very, very cool. You've got the standard warrior models, of course, and really good poses on those.
Yeah, they're all very dynamic poses, and I like how they've not just banged them on flight stands as well.
Yeah.
I'd probably say the only drawback from the kit, really, for me personally anyway, is they've got an MV-44 oversight drone, which apparently the Tau use to communicate with them. That's just, it looks as though it's landing on a piece of terrain or it's skimming off the top of it. That's probably the only thing in the kit that could maybe benefit from a flight stand. But other than that,
that's true.
For me, absolutely solid, the Vespid. I love the paint job they've gone for as well. Yes, everything I wanted and more, really.
Good. I'm not to bring down the mood there. I'm not entirely.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm not entirely keen. I think it's mostly the heads for me, like the big lips and everything that they look like they got. I know it's meant to be like their lips are drawn back, aren't they? Because they've got no lips. Probably
doing the thing from Alien where it kind of
but I don't know if it's the paint job on them or something. Maybe I might turn around a bit on them when people do their own schemes on them.
Yeah, I mean,
I might come around a bit on them, but
compared to the old stumpy cone heads that look like Mr. Whippy ice creams, I think these heads are a vast improvement.
Yeah, I think it's just like say the mouth part there, just it makes them look a bit goofy for me. But yeah, I'm coming around.
They're having fun killing. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but let us know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Which of the two kill teams is your favorite as well? But go on, Ben. Sorry.
I'll tell you what I like about them. So I don't know if either of you saw my video that I did about the Vespid and the possible connection with the Spirers.
I did. I saw it.
Yeah. So for your benefit,
technology,
Luke, yeah. Well, for your benefit, okay. So in the first Tau Codex that they published, just a little kind of throwaway lexicon at the back, it had a list of Tau words, and Horus, Jakara, Malkador, Yeldi were all Tau words, and they all conveniently meant things that accurately describe the spire suits. And it was always kind of therefore thought of, okay, well, spire suits are that we know they're off-world combat rigs. They're made by some kind of alien race. The implication was it's the Tau, but it doesn't look like Tau technology. Look at the shape of the body shape on the Vespid, especially the long-limbed, the shoulders, the length of the arms compared to the joints. Now look at the new Spire models, exactly the same proportions.
Definitely.
To the point where
they've been released so close as well.
Yeah, well, to the point where the whole thing about humans having to have essentially major surgery in order to fit into the spire suits, having limbs amputated and replaced with bionics and so forth to fit. Now imagine some of these guys packed inside a spire suit. They would look so cool.
Yeah.
But so I absolutely believe now that maybe these that we're seeing are, like the frontline battle troops, but maybe some of the Spire tech is actually the same kind of tech.
It'd be interesting to see if somebody actually does some kit bashing with that. I'd be
interested. Yeah, definitely.
Head on it or a Spire.
Yeah, be pretty cool. Considering, like you say, Ben, that they're similar shape anyway, and probably size, I'm not far off, probably. So the best.
Well, if you get a load of spare heads, for example, I don't know, much like we're expecting that the Tempesta Aquilons will come with a whole bunch of bare heads and covered heads. I'm assuming, like the Scions kit does. If the Vespid come with a whole bunch of spare heads as well, it's not too difficult, I can imagine, to just buy a box of Spirers, stick some heads on them, and go, hey, here, have Spire with giant kind of mechanical claws, Vespid leaping out from the shadows and eviscerating you with its mechanical claws. That would look really cool.
I look forward to seeing what people do with them for sure. Of course, the terrain that comes in the set, not as good as Octarius. The Octarius
Isn't this
one,
just the same Spire City terrain that we've already had?
We have seen some of this terrain before. If you scroll down a tiny bit, Luke, the piece on the bottom left there was in the recent Imperium magazine.
Yeah, right, this is all. I'm a little bit nonplussed by this. I was really hoping we were going to get some new terrain for this edition, like they did with Octarius.
Yeah, I was hoping. I mean, obviously, because they've tried to elevate the terrain, but I wouldn't say this is any more elevated than what you got in Octarius, really, with the Orc terrain. I mean, the one building has another level, but I mean, very small.
No, if anything, this is similar to the 2018 Kill Team set with the Mechanicus versus Gene Seal cult. Similar to that.
Considering that the whole aspect is like the flying, I was kind of hoping there'd be way more like levels and different all sorts they could have done with the terrain. So probably the worst part of the set for me, over the two teams even. But
it feels like a massive missed opportunity. Like you could have had something that was tall with loads of gantries and catwalks around it, so you could have make the best use of the jump packs and the wings flying up and down between the levels. And
I expected some sort of evolution of that Beta Decima terrain with a bit more verticality, maybe.
Because one thing that the designers were saying is that you can now because when you actually go to deploy at the start of the game, they're saying that you can actually now lay down several landing point markers where basically members of your team, if they have grav chutes or wings, can land later in the game and attack, which I think is so cool. So your opponent has a number of locations where they think you might come down, and I think you remove them as your turns go on.
Yeah, and you can move. And you can move it closer to a point where they're going to come in on. You can use it maybe as a feint as well, from what they were implying. It sounds pretty interesting.
Which is really cool. So it's like their way of almost deep strike, I suppose, where they're waiting up in the skies, waiting to come down. That I think that's going to be fun to see how that works.
Instead, for a kit that has essentially two flying kill teams, they've released we'll get to it after the core book in a minute, but they've released barricades and barbed wire.
We get assets now as well, don't we? So there's the standard barricades there, but apparently each team has access to equipment upgrades and assets. So there's barbed wire, there's shields, some sort of heavy fortification style wall, I don't know what it is, smoke grenades, looks like mines, ammo, ladders, and I bet that's a portable sensor, isn't it?
It'll be for like your objective space stuff as well, all these little bits and bobs, I'd imagine, as well. Which is,
but it's just the irony of going, hey, we've got two teams that can fly up and down. Okay, well, let's put some barbed wire out and just really hope, I guess, that you don't land in that.
Yeah, this is what that makes me think it's not going to be the edition of flyers that people were sort of banding that rumor around. I think it's just a starter set of flyers, maybe a couple of a season of flyers, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be the edition of flyers because you're locking yourself into only certain units, then, aren't you?
Well, everyone's been saying swooping hawks. It'd be extremely ironic if they then went warp spiders.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the current latest rumor that I've seen on Reddit is the next Kill Team box after this one is going to be armored orcs, or some type of armored orcs, maybe some like armored tank busters or something like that.
We need new tank busters, to be fair.
Ogrins and ratlings. Now that would tie into a recent rumor engine where we saw that bullet-ridden wall, which would fit in with a Kill Team box. Those mini bits of terrain that they've been doing. And we had a ammo box with a pie in it and a chicken in it, or a turkey or whatever it was. That would fit with ratlings.
Cool. Yeah,
it could still be a Warhammer Plus exclusive mini. You never know, but
a lot of people have been saying they've been wanting new ratlings, so be interesting to wait and see with that. But interesting. Of course, you're getting the core book inside and the Hivestorm dossier, which is kind of like your rules, for the 2 kill teams, all of your lore for the new environment.
It's all lore on Volcus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Softback book in the box, and there's a hardback core book coming later.
And I don't know if they mentioned, Si, I don't know if you remember, or Ben, you might have done as well if you watched it, but because what they've said is the rules for all of the existing kill teams are going to be put free online. We're going to have a little chat about that now.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they said that any of the core rules will be free, though, online.
I don't believe the core rules will be free, but every faction,
which is interesting,
is going to be available online. I'm going to keep it as living team rules so they can update them easily. And if you wanted to try out a team, basically you can just download the rules and give it a whirl. I mean, don't get me wrong, they'll sell data cards for them, which will probably be useless after about a month when they FAQ it. But
a month? You're giving it a lot of leeway there. It might be even less than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, and it's nice to see them actively promote that they're doing that, and they're going to put all the team rules out there for free straight away. So, fair enough.
I mean, they put the core rules out there because that's one of the things I like about Warcry is that all the core rules and all the main rules for all the different warbands are available for free on the web store.
A simplified version.
Well, they might put the basic rules on, because they said there was the basic rules, and then I think they called the advanced rules. Was it key principles? I think they called it something different.
I think Kill Team for the last 2 editions have had like an advanced rules section, so that wouldn't surprise me. I can't remember actually if I'd imagine the base rules for the current Kill Team edition are free available, but I can't remember.
They've also said as well, interestingly, the cards that come in this box, as well as all the tokens and various stuff, you're going to get map layouts and information for all the current terrain. So Gallo Dark, Beta Decima and stuff like
Zones Volcus,
you're going to be able to use those kill zones as well, which is pretty cool.
Because I mean, I suppose if you purchased from the last season, they're not completely useless. You're going to get like actual terrain layout cards for them now as well, and scenarios to go with them. So that's really nice. You can get them cards for all of that in the new box with new tokens. But obviously the main
rules is what's available for free to download at the moment. So it's like the quick play version.
I would imagine it might be the same then for Kill Team. I mean, we wanted to obviously bring this up just because it is a thing that they seem to be doing now in the last year or so. Obviously, we've seen with like Age of Sigmar, with the new Skaventide release, the new edition of Sigmar, they're dropping more free rules for the factions, at least for their first rules. All of the even advanced rules for the new edition of Sigmar are available online for free. It's so good that they're starting to consider doing this. They're way behind every other wargaming. Does this already.
They need to get caught up, don't they? I mean, one of the things that they said during the preview show as well about this new edition of Kill Team was accessibility. Is the main aim of this new edition, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute when it comes to the rules. But if accessibility is going to be this keyword that they're going for, free rules is you'll start. Get the faction rules on there for free, but put the core rules up there for free as well. But I do like they've said accessibility is a thing, and there's going to be a co-op mode for teaching people the game, rather than me versus you, and I just make stupid mistakes. Or I'll put my troops out in the open so you can just hose them down. You can actually teach someone the game with the co-op mode, which I think sounds really good. I'm looking forward to hearing more on that, and the solo mode as well.
Yeah. So those are my favourite things that they announced that got me actually really excited for this new edition, because I've always wanted GW to do in their games and the setting to have that kind of like cooperative or solo mode. They don't do it with a lot of the games, and especially with the skirmish games, it's perfect. Just grab a few models each within a team, and cooperatively. They said they're going to actually do scenarios as part of this as well that you can play through together for cooperative. Have like survival modes and things like that where the hordes of enemies come in, and you have to, like, I imagine, see what if you can survive a number of rounds. You'll have certain things that you have to achieve together that are separate to the actual normal scenarios that you can do against each other. I think that's going to be some great fun. That's actually
I'm
the
looking
part
forward to that.
will get me invested in this, I think.
I think co-op board games are some of the more fun board games to play. Like something like Pandemic or something where you're working together against the game itself. And to have something like that for Kill Team and for other miniature games Workshop produce would be a lot more fun. Not for every game. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still fun to have that kind of competitive play. But I think in terms of a casual game, it can be a lot more fun to play that kind of everybody against the game itself system.
Yes, definitely. And obviously, if you are on your own, then you can do it solo as well, I suppose. Teach yourself the rules. But like Si said, the most important thing with that, I think, is just that you can, like, if I ever want to introduce somebody into a game, like any of my housemates, they're not into Warhammer really, but if I wanted to introduce them into a game, co-op, it's less intimidating than coming up against somebody who's already really does know the rules well. I think perfect. So look forward to seeing that. Are there any other rules that were pointed out, Si, or anything that you wanted to touch on, do you think? Or do you think we've nailed it on the head with a lot of it?
No, I think, to be honest, the main thing I wanted to talk about was the solo and the co-op mode. I think that's a good move, and I'm quite excited about that. They are going to talk about Stingwings this week as well. There's going to be more information on them. The only other one really was the free rules, the free faction rules. I think I want to know more about that as well. I just think it's a good move, and it's about damn time, like we've been saying, that they need to do that.
They've obviously, and the benefit from them doing this now, obviously, is that, and obviously with the app that's relatively free to use to a certain degree, they update the rules on there constantly. So if obviously with Kill Team and stuff like that, I imagine they'll probably create a new list builder again for Kill Team, and I imagine they'll be able to keep the rules updated on there. And the app, when I use it for like Sigmar, for example, is great because any units that have facts added to their rules, they just put it down underneath on their actual data sheet, which is just fantastic.
The other good thing as well is if you've got existing kill teams, once the box is out or the core book's out, you don't have to wait for some sort of update or book further down the line. You've got your team ready to go, get the rules, download your faction rules, and boom, you're playing. They want people playing from day one, so that's the way to do it.
And Kill Team has always had a really strong competitive community as well.
Oh, so sorry, there is something we need to talk about. I can't believe we've missed it. We've gone back to numbers. The shapes have gone for measuring. Thank God.
Yeah, because the last edition of Kill Team, they released that triangle, didn't they? The measuring triangle. And they had shapes that represent... Oh, God, it was awful.
Yeah, so it's just like, we've gone back to 1, 2, and 3, thank God. Yeah, I mean, I get why they did it. They tried to make it funky, and you can glance at the idea in their head, wasn't it? You glance at a team rule, and you can see a weapon rule, and you see the symbol, and you think, right, I know what range that is.
Well, actually,
but you can just do that with a number.
One of the reasons originally was also because it was for language barriers. So obviously, in different languages, if you just have shapes, then they can just print the same tool and that's it. But in other countries, you have to do probably different symbols and things on it for numbers, I'd imagine, to a certain degree. But yeah.
But back to numbers for measuring, so that's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool, yeah.
I hope that they make the 40k rules for both warbands available for free at like the point of release as well, because that'd be quite cool if you've got like a guard army or a Tau army to instantly be able to include the kill teams, even if like the codex has already been released for your army, to just be able to take the unit rules, download them, and start playing.
Well, I imagine obviously Vespids, you've got Vespid rules with the Tau Codex, which recently came out. So, I mean, I suppose you've got nice new Vespid models to at least use. But I don't know. Maybe they might even make it just so that the Vespid units can have more of the weapon options now.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, that's what they've done with pretty much all the other kill teams, is as a kill team has been released, that unit has had, suddenly orcs can now, commandos can take all these different special weapons as part of the commando unit. And one would hope that they would release the rules so that Vespid units could suddenly go, hey, I've got a long sting in my unit. I've got, a shadow sting or whatever. All the different types of Vespid can then be included. But they could equally just make it as, hey, you can take the generic troopers as a Vespid unit, or you can take like a Vespid kill team as a separate unit. That could equally be cool.
Indeed. The last thing to really touch on before we go into your community questions this week, we have had an announcement that Nova Open will definitely have a preview this year.
So excited.
They've said it's going to be slightly different to usual just because they're going to give us some roadmaps again, which should be and roadmaps, not just plural.
Old world roadmap. I am so made up for this.
Yes, and they said it's going to be slightly different, where they're going to talk to the designers on the future for each game system as well, which sounds very good.
Or scenes, Ben, when we get a roadmap for the old world, goes up to the end of the year, and then we have some redacted after the end of the year.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Finally get the fishmen army from Warhammer the Old World that they've been promising us since 5th edition Fantasy.
I hope we do get some more of those again, though, because I think they're good fun, where they leave a couple of redacted on some of the roadmaps.
Yeah.
I would expect us to get roadmaps for most of the game. I mean, Kill Team, they've said a new season's coming, so I'd imagine we should get one for Kill Team. Sigmar, we're going to have a whole release of Battle Tomes now. I'd imagine we're going to get a roadmap for that. And 40k. Obviously, Heresy, I would hope so as well. Not, I suppose, Necromunda, because that's another season now.
It is. Heresy, I'm not sure that there's that much else for them to release unless they finally give in and go, hey, let's do Xenos for Heresy. Which
a lot of people have been asking online.
Unless
where
they
the melee
combine it
weapons
with
us?
Imperialis, maybe? Maybe.
Yeah, true. As Imperialis, they'll probably just say there's another expansion coming, another book, and a few more miniatures.
So, I mean, in about the next week, or probably next week, I'd imagine, we'll do a preview episode for that. And we'll dig more into what we think we can expect for the roadmaps and things, maybe.
Flagrant wish listing.
Indeed, yeah. So we'll come to that next week, but just so you guys know, that is coming indeed. But I think what we'll do, guys, if we haven't missed anything else, we can move on to some community questions this week. We didn't get a chance to do them last week, so we can get a few in here. First of which I have, I'll bring in the one I've had from Reddit in the last few weeks. Jing99 sent in, what will the next big Space Marine release bring whenever it comes? I assume they mean, like, I imagine the next 40k starter set, because for 11th, because that probably will always...
It'll be a couple of years away right now.
Yeah, well, a year or so away, probably. And as always, it tends to have Space Marines in it. So I suppose we could theorize what we think could be in that. I mean, usually it's Ultramarines, isn't it? So
I've got a prediction on this one, actually.
Go on.
I think a new tactical squad kit.
You know
I think
what?
they're not going to ditch tactical squads, but I think
had
they
the same
might
thing pop into my head, Ben, actually.
upscale them slightly so that they look okay next to Primaris Marines.
Because I don't...
Oh, you mean a new firstborn tactical squad?
Yeah, I think tactical squad and maybe Devastator squad as well.
Right.
Because you don't have that mixed heavy weapons options for Primaris. You've got all, Hellblasters or all, Melter Cannons or whatever, or all Nerf guns. That Devastator squad kind of mix of heavy weapons, and the tactical squad, special weapon and heavy weapon, they do hold an important place in the 40k kind of universe.
Yeah, possible.
I mean, that is actually the only thing that popped into my head, Ben. Because I was trying to I mean, obviously, you can really start to theorize about completely new units they could invent. That's very tough. I can't think of, like, stuff that they need to upgrade Primaris wise now. I don't think there really is.
They're in a relatively good place in that regard.
Assault Terminators.
Yeah. Oh, true. So the Assault Terminator.
Yeah, new Terminator needs the Assault version of the Terminator kit.
That's true. Could see something like that maybe. But yeah, I did kind of think a fun throwback maybe for the new edition could be interesting. See some new firstborn. But yeah, so I suppose it all depends as well what the opposition's going to be in the starter set and the theme of wherever we're going
just
next.
Repeat the question again for me, just.
They said, where are we? Let me go back to it. Sorry. So they said, what will the next big Space Marine release bring whenever it comes?
So are they talking like one of the Space Marine boxes, like where we got the?
I assume so.
What are they called? The big
bit
heavy
vague,
weapons,
really.
like missiles. that came out recently with the Brutalis Dreadnought.
Oh god,
Desolation Squad, was it? So did
Yes,
it mean
I
like an
suppose so.
army box with the Desolation Squad and a new Dreadnought
Yeah,
and stuff
I
like that?
suppose they could mean that as well. I took it as kind of like maybe the next big drop for Space Marines. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't really want to
would
speculate
be.
as far as like the next 40k starter set or anything like that. But I think Assault Terminators is definitely one that's probably going to show up first in an army box.
yeah.
Tactical Squad, like Ben said, is a possibility, and Devastator Squad, or they could just redo the Intercessor Squad and change the rules so you can take a special weapon and a heavy weapon. You never know. I wouldn't put it past them, especially if they're going to do away with the Primaris mention altogether eventually.
I mean, if you're talking in general Space Marines, obviously we've got Grey Knights come in beginning of the next year. That's probably the next actual Space Marine equivalent release you're going to get, isn't it, I think, now?
The Grey Knights one's going to be interesting because it's going to be a question at that point of, do Grey Knights get Primaris?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I mean, you've got the new Castellan Crow, haven't you? And he's not Primaris, he's just been scaled up.
Yeah, but so are Grey Knights going to remain Firstborn, or do Grey Knights get kind of the whole cross the Rubicon Primaris thing to get that extra power and whatever, you know?
Organs, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Grey Knights will be something we'll get on that new roadmap 40k for sure. So, yeah.
Going back to the Space Marine one, the only thing I can think of really is they might have been getting a new vehicle. So we've got the hover tanks, haven't we? We've got the big land speeders or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Land Raider's still a thing. They've made the Land Raider available again to carry Primaris troops, haven't they?
They have.
A new flyer, maybe. There's still that mention of whatever that Primaris flyer is. I can't remember what it was called right from early on, you know, in the books, the Dark Imperium books and stuff like that. Yeah. They did mention a Primaris style flyer. If they go back to flyers, they could maybe update the Stalker tank.
That's true.
The anti-air tank. Maybe we get a Primaris version of anti-air, or maybe some sort of artillery piece. So like a Space Marine equivalent of
a Primaris Vindicator or something.
Exactly, yeah.
Big exactly guns.
Be cool actually to see, like, and it's like, I mean, not to carry on too much longer, but the new actual 11th edition, I feel like, obviously it's always Marines usually in the new starter set. I feel we might go back to a Marines versus Chaos in the new starter set. I feel that might be coming, but it's been a while.
We haven't had Marines versus Orcs since Black Reach.
Well, actually, going off that topic, imagine, Si, if you had new Primaris flyer models and then some new Orky like jets and all sorts to put in the box as well. It'd be pretty cool.
Be a good opportunity to do new Storm Boys as well at that point.
Yeah.
Or actually, you were saying about like a new tank. That'd be a good opportunity to put some new tank busters in for the Orcs.
We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But we shall move swiftly on to our next question. So we're going on to Discord now here. We've got Sam Gardner. Thanks for sending in another question, bud. So it's a fluffy question. What's the best deal you ever scored on hobby stuff? Can be figures, tools, paints, etc. Excludes giveaways. So you can't be saying free stuff.
Oh, okay.
I've got something that's popped into my head straight away. This is probably the only one I can think of that I scored a deal on years ago, and this was on like a Facebook group when I first wanted to start up Crute, and then I think it was in 8th edition possibly. The Crute got completely screwed again, and tons of their stuff got cut out and wasn't playable, so I ended up getting rid of them. But I scored for something like £80, and we're talking obviously English money here, guys, for anybody international. But 80 English pounds for I think maybe 80 Crute Carnivores. 2 great Narlock models and Forge World ones, and all of this was painted, quite nicely painted. And great Narlock models were going probably for over £100 each at the time. Some of the smaller cavalry Narlock riders, and I think maybe a few of the Crutox riders at the time, which are the metal ones, which weren't cheap really either. I think that's what was inside it. Probably £400 or £500 worth of stuff easily for about £80. And okay. So, you know, pretty good. But yeah, that's the only one I could think of. But who can think of another one for themselves?
So putting aside like freebie stuff, because there have been a few times when I've gotten like, hey, this is amazing stuff for free. The best one, I mean, and again, putting aside like being able to mail order stuff by weight back when I was a staff member, There was a point when Warmaster was going completely out of production, and the store I was working in at the time, we were basically told that we could buy Warmaster at £1 per 1,000 points. Like, we had just so much, loads of stuff to get rid of.
Oh my
And we were
god.
basically told, write yourself some Warmaster lists, and however many points that list is, you can have the Warmaster stuff for £1 per 1,000 points. I wrote a £5,000 point Warmaster list, Empire Warmaster list, handed over a crisp fiver, and walked out with 2 big boxes of Empire Warmaster. Painted some of it up, but never really got in, because the thing was, Warmaster's a great game, but I didn't really know any. Once I moved away from that area, I didn't really know anybody else who played Warmaster, so it just languished in boxes for years.
How many models are you kind of talking then for like 1,000 points, for example? Because I'm not sure.
God.
Warmaster. Is it like is it quite a lot of models, or is it?
Well,
like...
so it was bases. So you'd have a base, and the base would represent like a unit of.
I thought it was it's smaller scale, isn't it?
That's it. So like a one stand was something like 8, Empire halberdiers or something. So and a unit very rapidly would be like 3 stands. You've got 24. That's a unit of 24 halberdiers. But that in itself might be only like 30 points. So I ended up with just boxes of Empire Warmaster, and I painted a bunch of it up, but never really played it because I didn't know anybody else who played it. So during lockdown, then I've paid a fiver for this thus far, and it's then languished in boxes for about 20 years. During lockdown, I was doing my Warhammer Fantasy 5th Edition Dwarf Army, and I found a guy in Germany who was mad for Warmaster and had a bunch of old school metal dwarf models that he didn't want. So we did a postal trade. I sent him my Warmaster. He sent me 20 of the classic old hammers, 25 slayers, like 3 or 4 different war machines, unit of iron breakers, just loads of classic
you
lead
even
dwarves.
More out of it in the end.
So that's it. So for my 5, I ended up getting, what's probably like 300 quid's worth of old school really old hammer. That's my deal.
That's pretty cool. Si, do you have anything to share for that one?
Nothing massive in terms of the way Ben's just described an epic one. I did get Blood Bowl 3rd edition. So it was, I think is it 3.5 where it's the same edition, Ben, but it's just got like the blue border around the edge of the box. So it's the same sort of yellow box cover for Death Zone, but it's got the blue border.
Yeah,
it's like an updated. Slightly, I got Blood Bowl and Death Zone on eBay. I just put a cheeky bid in, thinking it would be, beaten, and I got it, and I won both. And when I opened Death Zone, everything was still, it had all been punched off the cards, but you could tell it had never been handled. They punched them off the cards and just put elastic bands around each pile of cards and just put them back in the box.
Nice.
And Blood Bowl, everything had been taken off the sprues and built, but not painted. So all the miniatures were in there, and I still got it now. So that was a pretty good deal. And then when I got Warhammer Fantasy 4th edition, when I bought that again, when I got the box, I thought, oh, God, this weighs a ton. And as well as everything in the box, apart from the miniatures, sadly, the full Warhammer Battle Magic is in there as well. And somebody had put a 6th edition rulebook in there as well.
Nice.
Not the hardback, the one that from the 6th edition starter box, but that was in there as well. It might have been 5th edition, actually. I'll have to have a look.
One thing I'd love to do if I had the spare cash at some point is people sell these massive boxes that they have that they don't have a clue what's in it, of just Warhammer sprues and things and models. I'd love to just buy one of those one day and just have it turn up and just open it up and see what's in there and see if you've got any cool things in there. But yeah, maybe one day. But we'll move on to the next question. Esbar92, thank you, buddy, for sending in another question. It says, is Spearhead a better game type than Combat Patrol? If so, why? Is it a fundamental aspect of the game itself, or more the acceptance by the player base? Now, I know you guys probably haven't still tried Spearhead yet,
played it yet.
But you Combat Patrol? Did you ever play Combat Patrol?
I played Combat Patrol.
The one thing I'd say about this straight away, though, is they are so different, to be honest. Combat Patrol was always more a campaign system and a way to get you to buy more models. So as part of, I think it was 8th edition, was it, that it came in, Combat Patrol? I think
9th, I think.
Was it 9th? Okay, 9th edition. The way they introduced it was kind of as part of that edition to start at a low points level, I think it was 500 points, to then basically in a campaign system called Combat Patrol to grow your army up to larger points levels, and that's kind of all Combat Patrol really was. It wasn't necessarily a separate game, it was just a low points level. Spearhead is its own game, to be honest. It uses rules from Age of Sigmar, but it plays as its own core game separately. And obviously using Age of Sigmar models. If so, is it a better game type? Yes, than Combat Patrol would be my opinion, because it is its own game. But you know,
Combat Patrol at its heart was about trying to sell models.
Yes,
it was about trying to sell a starter set rather than being a different way to play.
And don't get me wrong, and when Spearhead first came out, before I even played it, the first thing I actually said about it was, this is still a money grab, because it's, you know, clearly an easy way for them to sell the Spearhead box sets, like they did with Combat Patrol, but they've actually this time put the effort in and created a separate game for it, rather than Combat Patrol, which wasn't. But what I hope they do for 40k for the next edition is do what they've done for Spearhead with the Combat Patrol boxes for 40k. I think that will be ridiculously popular if they manage to pull that off. And I think so. From what they've seen, if they weren't already working on it, they will be now, because like I said, I popped back up to Warhammer World on Saturday. I was walking around the shop. The number of people in the shop that weren't even necessarily looking at Sigmar stuff, just chatting about Spearhead. Pretty incredible, actually.
That's cool.
So it's very, very popular at the moment and doing quite well for them. So, but I'll criticize GW when they need to be criticized, but when they get things right, I'll stick thumbs up to them. And Spearhead, they nailed, to be fair. So yeah, I don't know if the guys have anything to add to it, but obviously I know you haven't.
No, you covered it,
guys. So
yeah.
But the last one, Sai, this is actually one that you wanted to bring up, so I brought in yours. So you said airbrush, yes or no, and thoughts. This is interesting.
I forgot I asked that question.
Yeah. So I thought I'd bring it in as well. But I've never personally used an airbrush, and I don't necessarily care to, because...
Well, shall I go first? So,
go on, Si.
It'll tell you what prompted the question. So I had never used an airbrush, and I've always had airbrush fear. Like, oh my God, that's way too advanced for me. I can't airbrush. One of my friends, Simon, he was coming around. We were building some Horus Heresy stuff. It was when the Age of Darkness box came out. And he said, have you got an airbrush? I said, yeah, I've never used it. It's still in the box. He said, why not? And he sent me a link a while ago, and it was... I think it was like a £40 airbrush off Amazon, but it got mega reviews and it was supposed to be really, really good. And it is actually a decent airbrush. So anyway, it comes with like a little rubbish compressor. You could probably do with upgrading the compressor because there's no gauge on it. But it does the job. You know, you're not using it out of a rattle can or anything like that. It's not just a compressed air can. So we airbrushed some Horus Heresy miniatures, and he showed me how to do it and how to clean it. And it was way easier than I thought it was. You know, it didn't take a lot of time to set it up. It didn't take a lot of time to clean it, really, providing you've got the stuff that you need. Did it in the garage, just in a cardboard box. And it's one of those things where I suffer where I can't undercoat unless the weather's perfect for it. Or I could do it in the garage and choke myself to death. But with the airbrush now, you just basically get it out, plug it in, fill the little pot up with some Vallejo primer. You're done and dusted, and it's a really, really smooth coat. So after using it and being shown how to use it, which only took 10-15 minutes, I was thinking to myself, why have I not done this before? And it's a lot easier than you think. Just watch a couple of videos on YouTube, and you only have to buy a cheap one. And unless you're some sort of mega expert, you do not need an expensive airbrush. So I just thought, I wonder how many people are using one.
Primarily been using now, then, Si, or...
Pardon?
Have you been primarily using airbrush now, or just for certain techniques, or what?
Just a mixture of certain techniques. So if I want to use a certain spray paint because I want to use contrast or something like that, I'll still use, for example, when I did my city bases for Legions Imperialis, I used Colourforge Ghoul Grey, which is the same as Grey Seer, because I wanted a smooth grey to start from. So I just used the rattle can for that, plus the weather was nice. But for my Striking Scorpions, I airbrushed them black undercoat, and then I airbrushed a green on, and then I've gone with the Zenithal lighter green from above. And because the way the airbrush works, you can get some really nice color gradients, and for vehicles, it's absolutely mega for vehicles.
I imagine.
I would say for anyone who's got airbrush fear like I had, just have a try. Just practice on an old sprue or some bases or a bit of a cardboard box, and it's a lot easier than you think.
I think for me, it's the cleaning aspect that always puts me off. It's like if I'm painting a miniature, I can just go, "Hey, pot out," and then I can, as soon as I've washed the brush and wiped it and put it, down again, I'm done. As it is, if I'm having to get the compressor out, plug the compressor in, get the hoses up, put the airbrush in, then fill the little bottle up with the paint, and then at the end of it, I've got to completely clean everything out again. I don't have the time for that a lot of the time.
The paint out, water, spray it through till it's dry, tip it out, water, spray it through till it's dry, put some airbrush cleaner in, spray it through, water in, spray it through.
So again, you've already got too many steps in there for me. Shake pot of paint. Hello, cat. Shake pot of paint. Stick brush in paint. Stick, lick brush, wash, gone. That's it for me. I mean, I'm a bit of a Luddite, I suppose.
For me, it's actually more just I've completely just invested in speed paints. I've literally bought a lot of their range because I've been so happy with them. And so it's kind of like
airbrush creates such a smooth base coat that it makes speed paints flow brilliantly. So there is that positive.
No, I know. I mean, it's just more the fact that I've spent so much money, obviously, investing in a whole new load of paints. So then it's like investing in airbrush, then all the airbrush paints and whatnot is like a lot more money again. But maybe some years down the line, it may be that I move on to airbrushing as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you use an airbrush and if you prefer that to using a paintbrush or if you use a bit of both, and let us know. I'll be interested to know. But that is what I've got down for community questions for this week. Please do make sure, guys, to send in your own. You can jump over to our Discord. We've got a channel there for you to drop your questions in. You can leave a comment on the video. We'll shove it into the next show in a couple of weeks' time and answer it for you there. We always love to answer your questions. And I'm always over on Reddit as well in different groups and things, and people send them in there as well. So
it always provokes a really kind of interesting conversation.
Yeah, I enjoy the community question episodes. We get some good fun conversation, not just around Warhammer as well. It goes into like other war games with the questions, so it's quite nice.
Si, when we do our takeover, when Luke's away on holiday, we should absolutely ask people for their like 80s cartoon related.
I think I'm gonna have to,
or like 80s sci-fi movies questions.
I'm gonna have to send in like a community question as some random guy with some 80s cartoon nerd kind of name and like
we'll bookend the show with some Warhammer content at the start and at the end.
Yeah.
In the middle, it's just full on takeover.
Yeah, that'll be good. You'll have to, then I can listen to it when I come back, and you'll have to educate me then about some of the 80s cartoons.
There'll be 80s cartoon posters on your wall, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You'll be hooked.
Yeah, for sure. But guys, I think we'll end the show here on a game of Warhammer 20 questions this week. I think maybe next week we might chuck in a game of how much, maybe, since it's been a while since we've done one. So possibly we'll go on to that next week. But this week, I do have a suggestion that we had sent in by, I'll get his name up, Darth Jerak. Clearly also a Star Wars fan there. But sent in a suggestion this week. If you don't know what Warhammer 20 questions is, guys, and you're new to the channel, we do these every week. The guys have to try and guess a character or unit from the Warhammer universe. And to find out who it is or what it is, they they have 19 questions. Yes or no questions. The 20th. They have to make their guess. That's their very last chance to guess who it is. And I think something we don't point out every week is that they only have one guess. So when they do guess, that's it. So they have to be sure of what it is. And I have to do my research to make sure that I can answer yes or no questions. But we shall see how it goes this week. Who would like to ask the first question? Let the questioning begin.
Well, Ben's in the top right today, so he can
in the top spot.
You are this week, Ben.
Okay, let's see. What would Si say? Do you reside in the 41st millennium?
I love how you just embodied Si anyway, even though it's your choice this week. Ironically, though, Ben, no, it's not.
Hey.
So no, they're not 41st millennium.
Do you reside in the mortal realms?
No, that's 2.
Do you reside in the world that was, or the old world as it's sometimes known?
I do, that's 3.
Okay.
First, yes.
Has your particular race been released yet for the old world?
Oh, good question. I like
Very
that.
good
Sorry.
question.
No, they haven't.
Okay,
That was a really
so
good one. I like that one.
We can rule out 4.
indeed.
That was question 4. So you're on 5
Okay,
now.
so that means that, assuming that it's not a Legends one, and let's leave Legends out of this.
Well, we could ask about pointy ears. That'll rule out 2 more.
Well, that's what I was thinking. So there's Wood Elves and High Elves, Beasts, Humans, and Warriors of Chaos. So there's 2 Followers of Chaos and 2 pointy-eared ones. Let's just simply ask this, and this will hopefully help us. Are you part of the Empire of Sigmar?
Yes.
Okay, it's cool. So it is Empire of Sigmar, it's Empire of Man.
Are you a leader or character?
Yes. That's 8.
Okay.
Not that there aren't many from Empire.
No, there are quite a few.
No.
Now, the problem here is that we're thinking the Warhammer the Old World range, but we don't know what special characters are coming for that.
Could be a wizard. It could be.
But it could equally be a character from the the end times, the previous era. Like it could be Karl Franz or something. We don't know.
We could probably work it out whether it's going to be from the end times or from this current iteration of the old world.
Yes. So let me think about how to phrase this. Were you alive during the era of the Emperor Karl Franz?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not. We're not talking
Exactly
the old
9.
world time. We're talking Warhammer Fantasy Battle era. Then, so could still be any number of the characters from that era. Off the top of my head, I mean, it's like Kurt Hellborg. I mean, Karl Franz himself, Kurt Hellborg, Ludwig Schwarzheim. Felix Jaeger. Entirely possible.
Have you ever been the star of or featured heavily in a Black Library novel or publication?
I don't believe they've been heavily publicised in a Black Library novel. No.
So it's not Felix. It's not.
It could have
Karl
been in
Franz,
one,
for
but not
example.
like a big figurehead of a Black Library novel.
Okay, so it can't be Karl Franz, can't be Felix Jaeger, can't be Kurt Hellborg because he had his own novel. Are you usually mounted?
Yes.
Okay, so that rules out things like the marksman on foot.
That's question 11.
Still leaves us quite a wide range of options.
It's a tough one, this, because Empire have a lot
of characters.
Yeah.
I think it's helped by the fact that they're not a majorly featured character in a Black Library novel, because that does rule out a fair few.
Has this character ever had a miniature in the Warhammer Empire range?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
That's 12.
So that does narrow it down a little bit. Are they a member of the Church of Sigmar?
No.
Okay, so it's not Luther Huss. It's not like the R. Ulrich. To be fair, wouldn't be within the Church of Sigmar. Maybe the Church.
Have we asked if it's a named character? Because I just did a
We haven't actually. No, we haven't asked if it's a named character. Actually,
is this a named character or?
It is a named character.
Yeah.
That's 14, guys.
Okay.
What was the one that sounded like Alderaan? Aldenbrand, somebody. Aldenbrand.
Oh, there's the. Hang on. I've got an idea. Are you an Elector Count?
Yes, I am.
Aha. Okay, so there were 4 mounted Elector Count models that they did.
Well
there
done,
was
Ben.
the completely barking mad. I've got all 4 of them as part of the reason I've got all 4.
Okay.
They're lovely models. I've got all 4. So there was the completely barking mad one who made like his horse a general. There was the Ostlander one that had the dragon bow. There was the one from Middenheim. And who was the 4th one? Oh, the one from Hochland with the eagle perched on his wrist. Those were the 4 Elector Count models that they released.
It's going to be a close one again, though.
It is. We need to try and narrow it down.
You're on question 16 for you, Si.
Yeah, I'm thinking about an idea.
Yeah.
I have one idea about how to narrow it down.
Do you have 2 words in your name?
Yeah, I'll allow it since you're getting close anyway. You're kind of narrowing it down. Yes, I have 2 words in my name.
Okay, so it's one of the other 3. It's not Vladimir. Are you barking mad?
Barking mad. No.
So it's not Marius Leitdorf.
Not who you're thinking of, no.
So it's either Boris Todbringer or Aldebrand Ludenhoff.
Yeah.
So you're 18 now.
Do you share the same first name as a stupid, idiotic bloke from London who got stuck on a zip line with blonde hair?
I was wondering where you were going with that then. Yes, I do.
Take it away, Ben.
Okay. Well, I've got one more question before we guess, haven't we?
Well.
So, are you a follower of Ulrich?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So, making the guess then, guys?
Yeah. So your turn to guess.
Are you Boris Todbringer?
I am Boris Todbringer. Well
Yay!
done, guys. You got there. That was a tough one this week. So
Undefeated.
managed to get there. There he is. That's his old original mini with his castle on his head.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Because
Do not ask me where I plucked Aldenbrand from out of my memory. I just remember
that was impressive.
I just remember he had a name that sounded like Alderaan from Star Wars.
Yeah.
I could remember.
And ironically, it was Darth Jarak as well who sent in the question.
Yeah. I could only remember his first name. I wouldn't have been able to get. What is it? Ludenhoff, isn't it?
Ludenhoff, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have remembered that. I just remembered his first name.
And then thanks.
Which was the key.
Thanks to Darth for sending in that suggestion. It's been a while since we've had an old world one, so thanks for that. Or at least the world that was.
Undefeated.
So thanks for sending that in. And guys, if you'd like to send yours in, as always, you can send into my email, wargamingluke@gmail.com. Or message me on our Discord or whatnot. Send in your suggestion. I'd love to add it to our list, and yours will be brought up on one of our episodes. But I think that will do for our game this week. So we'll end it there and say our goodbyes. Ben, since you're top right this week, we'll go with you first. Where can we find you, buddy, and what have you been up to? What videos are you doing on your own channel and whatnot?
You can find me over on my own channel as 90% Geek, and likewise on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all the rest with the same handle. Currently, the plan for this week is one of my scenery videos. So if you want to see me being horrendously cack-handed at making scenery, come and watch this week's video. It'll be fun, if nothing else.
That'll be fun. I know you were choosing between a couple, so I'm glad you're at the
I was choosing between. I was like, do I do one about I really want to do something more about Battlefleet Gothic, and I've got a whole bunch of Gothic fleets I've been working on. So I do a video about that, but I've also got this cardboard scenery over here. Do I do a video that I've been promising to make doing that? And then somebody on Twitter responded and said, why don't you do a video about all the returning old world scenery? I'm like, because that would be sensible and that would actually tie into what's going on in the hobby at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that.
Fantastic. And Si?
Yeah, you can find me in the usual place, Hobby Waffle on YouTube. Latest video I've just done was going over all the Kill Team stuff and talking about some of the things that they showed off in the reveal video. And might do another one, possibly speculating on what we might see for Kill Teams going forward. And also I want to do a quick short video on magnetizing the Aura Spires, because I've done it now. I managed to magnetize all the weapons, so that was pretty fun. And then other than that, next one will probably be Nova Open reveals, depending on what they show off.
I'm sure you'll have some more Space Marine 2 videos coming as well, because that's getting closer and closer.
Yeah,
it's only about 2.5 weeks away.
I will be doing that.
So excited.
And then also Instagram and Twitter, I'm there as @HobbyWaffle. You can find my pictures on there. Yeah, I'll get some Hive Secundus pin put on there. The Malstrains are on the way, nearly done. So I've got a scheme now.
Well, by next week, we'll have hobby updates next episode.
Yeah, I should have some painting Malstrains to show you next week.
Show us. That'll be cool. And next week, guys, join us, because I'm sure there'll be the preview and whatnot for this upcoming Nova Open reveal. So we'll be talking all about that next week. But as always for me, over on X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Wargaming Luke. Indeed. Otherwise, I'll be here on the podcast with the guys. But otherwise, until next week, guys, as always, have a great time out there. Stay safe and happy wargaming. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.